And it starts by setting a thread at the beginning of a line of stitching, and with each stitch you place a bead or a sequin in place. It's really not terribly difficult, but it takes a lot of coordination to plunge the needle, push the bead up, catch the thread, wrap it around the needle, turn the needle in that same direction, and pull the stitch up. That locks it onto the fabric. You're making a chain stitch. But there's a lot of fine mechanics involved here to making it happen. You have to know which end, where the front of that hook is, which is in line with the set screw on the handle. You have to push against the back side of it as it comes up so that it doesn't snag the fabric or split the thread. But it's the same technique is used for beads, it's used for sequins, it's used for bugle beads, it's used for pretty much the bulk of the techniques that are used in French couture embroidery. You can even use this hook to make a satin stitch as well as appliquing fabric. And I mean, I've even stitched through suede with the hook, and that takes a little bit of practice. But it just is a simple technique that once it's mastered and you understand the mechanics of it, you can develop a goodly amount of speed, which is why this technique is so widely used in the couture embroidery industry in Paris, because it is far more efficient and you can do much more, much faster with this hook than you ever could with basic needle and thread surface embroidery or surface beading. It's a simple stitch, plunge, wrap, turn, and lift. And the same stitch works for applying sequins. You have the width of the sequin to use as a guide, so you just push the needle down at the end of the edge of the sequin, make the stitch to hold it in place, push another sequin up in place, and repeat the stitching, making sure you've only got one sequin. Occasionally they do stick together, so you have to be able to feel when there's more than one sequin there. These are 6mm cup sequins that are really easy to start with because they're big, you can see them, and they are tend to be not as sticky together as the smaller 2 and 3mm flat sequins. But the stitch technique is identical. The needle is turned in the direction you're stitching, wrapped, turned around, and brought up again. It's a 180-degree turn that the needle makes at every single stitch. Stitch after stitch after stitch. And it's a remarkable little tool that has a multitude of uses for a variety of stitching techniques. This piece represents all of the stitching techniques taught at Lesage in Paris, over 150 hours of class time. And here we see some pieces that are in process. The petals of the pansy will be made separately and then applied to the base petals, which are on the back of the fabric here. Combination of sequins and beads and threads. Here's one of the petals ready to be cut out, finished, and applied to the back petals of the piece. A close-up showing the combination of sequins, beads, bugle beads, seed beads, and chenille threads as well. The 3 extra petals before they were applied to the final project, putting them together to see how they will fit. And then the final piece ready for finishing and turning into a purse.